Chapter 8 is about simplification of mathematical formulas. This is a powerful instrument in your mathematical toolbox because being able to work confidently with letters will help you solve a lot of abstract problems. In this chapter, we mainly try to get familiar with the rules themselves. How do we find the most simplified version of a formula? But throughout, we'll try to keep an eye on why these rules actually make sense. In this lesson, we will look at the basics. What are we actually doing when we simplify a formula? And what are the rules that we already know from previous experience? Letters turn up in formulas, and in formulas they remind us how we calculate a number that is related to other numbers. For example, the perimeter of a square is the lengths of all its sides combined. So we can make a formula for the perimeter of a square. If we call the length of a side s, then the perimeter will be s plus s, because all sides in the square are the same, plus s plus s. This formula helps us to calculate the perimeter if we know the side. For example, say the side is 6. It could be 6 centimeters, but we don't bother with a unit now. Then we change every s in the formula to a 6, and we get 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 is 24. And if the side is 7, we change every s to a 7, and we get 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7 is 28. Now maybe you're thinking, wait a minute, this formula is needlessly long. And in that case, you have the right mindset for this topic. We usually like our formulas to be as efficient as possible. We add 4 identical sides, so we may as well say we multiply one side by 4. The perimeter of a square is 4 times the side. Because multiplication is so common in mathematics, we are often too lazy to write down even a multiplication sign. And this is what simplification means. It means making a formula easier to read and usually shorter, but without changing the results. If we enter a side of 6 in this formula, we still get 24, and 7 still gives us 28. All the rules we learn for simplification are there to make sure that the results don't change after simplification. The first of those rules is that we can combine like terms. This means terms with the same combination of letters. So when we see a formula with only additions and subtractions, we note which terms have the same letters, and then we add them up. In this formula, one pair of like terms is 5a and 2a, and another is 3b and b. In the simplified version of the formula, we combine 5a and 2a to 7a, and b here means 1b. We are just too lazy to write down the 1, so 3b plus b becomes 4b. When there are negative signs, they stick to the next term when we combine terms. So in this example, to combine 5a and negative 2a, we calculate 5 minus 2, that is 3, so 5a minus 2a gives 3a. And likewise, for the other two, we calculate negative 3 plus 1, that is negative 2, so negative 3b plus b gives us negative 2b. This result cannot be simplified further because there are no like terms anymore. Terms being like means the exact same letters are being multiplied equally many times. So in this formula, no two terms are like, even though 3 of them have an x and 2 of them have a y. None of them has them in precisely the same combination. So this formula cannot be simplified further. So we can't always simplify additions and subtractions. We can always multiply, however. When we multiply 5x and 2y, we use the fact that 5x and 2y are already multiplications. 5 times x and 2 times y. So we get one long multiplication of 4 factors. In a multiplication, the order doesn't matter. So actually, this is the same as 5 times 2 times x times y. 5 times 2 is 10, and we can do without all the other multiplication signs, so the simplified version of this formula is 10xy. The general algorithm then for multiplications involving letters is you multiply all the numbers that are involved and then put all the letters in alphabetical order. Sometimes not all of the numbers will be visible because we are too lazy to write down the number 1. So the numbers here are 3, negative 1, and 2. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3, and negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. So we get negative 6 times a times b times c without the multiplication signs. Finally, if we multiply a letter by itself, that gives the same result as squaring it. And we think of the square as the more simplified version. So negative 2xy times negative 7x, we first multiply the numbers. Negative 2 times negative 7 is positive 14, and then we put the letters in alphabetical order, x, x, and y. And now this x is multiplied by x, so it is multiplied by itself, and we can write it as x squared. So the most simplified version of this formula is 14x squared y. These were the basic rules, and in the next videos we will start combining them and adding more patterns and techniques for simplification.